those that are not criminally liable under the law, those are the people that are young ones below the age of 7. Once you're more than 7, you can be charged to court. The only thing is that you need to.
All right. Well, those statements, that statement there from the force PR Muyiwa Adejobi has caused a lot of ripples across the country, and we're trying to understand what's going on. Of course, it is referring to the arraignment of some people considered or perceived to be minors, on treason. And of course, that video has gone viral. There are a lot of balls that have been dropped here, and it's the learning time for us as a people. We need to understand how these things are done, and helping us to navigate this trying situation and helping us understand what's really going on, what should have been done today. We have a lawyer joining us via Zoom, Mr. Adiola Oyinlade. Thank you so much for being with us on the program this morning.
Good morning, Kayla. Good morning to all the viewers, wherever you're watching us. Thank you for having me on the show this morning.
When you saw that video, what was the first thing that came to your mind?
Very shocking, very embarrassing. In this age of, global age of technology, virtually everyone all over the world has seen this. And of course, it's put a question mark on our administration of criminal justice system in Nigeria. How do we manage the process? Nigeria should, this is after 1999, we transited to current democracy. We shouldn't be crawling again at the age of 25 in this current democratic system. We should be able to make quantum jump now. And when the committee is of nations, or where countries all over the world who are expanding frontiers of human rights are being counted, Nigeria should be taking the lead. So this is very disgusting, and it's just like we are trying to be famous through infamous conduct.
Wait, listening to Mr. Muyiwa Adejobi, the public relations officer of the Nigerian police, he has come under a lot of criticism from many people for the things that he said, following the release of that video. But I want to get from you, did he tell any lies? Was he wrong in the statement that he made?
I can understand Prince Muyiwa Adejobi's job. But I don't envy him at this point in time. Under the law, we have our administration of criminal justice system. And then, of course, for an adult, if an adult has committed a crime, there are processes and the procedure. But when a child has committed a crime, if the crime committed at that point in time was committed by a child that you can call, or who has attained adult age, there are also juvenile procedures. So you don't merge every child with an adult who has committed a crime. It's easier for everybody to say, oh, if a crime has been committed, then you are going to face trial. But they did not take time to also look at the procedures, the processes, enshrined all the plethora of laws that are applied or that are applicable when we are talking about criminal justice system in Nigeria.
All right, so let's talk about the processes that were not followed. Where was the ball dropped? What were the stages? Because there are several issues. Number one, many people were complaining about the boys looking malnourished, and that they've been in incarceration for longer than they should have been. And then there's also the fact that many people believe that they shouldn't have been arraigned in that court. They should have been in a juvenile court. And then there's also the issue where, some people just believe that, these are minors. Why are they even being arraigned in the first place? And then, of course, the taking over of that case by the Attorney General of the Federation. You know, these are some of the issues that we've heard going around, at least on social media, and people sending statements. I'm looking at this statement here from the Ira Consultative Forum, and it's brought a lot of issues to the fore. But let's hear from you as a legal person. What balls were dropped here?
Okay, there are a plethora of legal issues in this case. The first thing is, let's even start with arrest. Yes, we understand that the police have the power of arrest under the Police Act. And then what are the rights of an accused person? Because the moment you are arrested, you are an accused person. An accused person, either invited to the police station or arrested, do they also have rights? This is where to start from. You've arrested people. What are the scope of rights that they have already provided for under the law? They are entitled to have access to the lawyers of their choice. They are entitled to apply for administrative bail when they are in the custody of the Nigerian police. All these do they allow them to exhaust all these available remedies already under the law? Were they even allowed access to their lawyers? There is one thing to get people arrested. There is another thing to also deny them of exercising all the rights available to them. Then after this, somebody who is arrested is not guilty until court it is common that people are arrested without commencing investigation. And it's also possible in the course of the investigation, people get arrested. What this means is that when you are arrested before investigation, you are supposed to be allowed to exercise all the rights available to you. Because if you deny them access to lawyers, if you don't allow them administrative bail, if you put them in a condition that will affect their heads, and at the end of the day, it turned out that these suspects are not even are not connected one way or the other. There is no nexus between them and the crime you are looking at. You've already made them to suffer. You have already put them in a condition or a situation whereby they've already suffered for what you are investigating. So now, this is very common, and it's very unfortunate that we get people arrested, detained, suffered before we commence investigation or while we are commencing investigations. These young people have been arrested for a long time. Looking at the pictures, even the footage that we see of some of all these people, it clearly shows that they are not properly taken care of. But from what we have seen, it shows that something is wrong. So there is one thing about police exercising their power of arrest, and there is another thing managing the entire processes in line with international conventions that Nigerians are signatory to. You know, under our law, Nigeria is known to always sign, ratified, and transform some of these international laws into our local law. And we get applauded that Nigeria is a signatory to this convention, Nigeria is a signatory to this in the charter, Nigeria is doing this at the global stage. But there is one thing for you to sign some of all this law. There is another when it comes to implementation of this. This is what the international community, the whole world, use as a yardstick to rate you. I may have a car, I may have the best car in town, but how am I managing the car? No fuel, no oil, not regularly, service. And we're just saying, look at the structure, just look at the fit, just look at the outside of my car and see what I'm driving. But we know that the car
inside of it is really not
So,
working. You know, I want to be able to look at it from all sides. There are people who, while we're discussing, oh, these are Jews, these are children, they shouldn't be arraigned, there's other ways to do this. While all of that is going on, there are people who are stuck on the images that we saw during the End Bad Governance protest of young people who look a lot like the people that we saw in that court, carrying generators and running into the street, destroying property. Many people still have those images in their heads. And, you know, while we're discussing, oh, they're young, oh, no, look, there's a way to do this, they're thinking, no, no, no. When it came to the destruction of properties and people's livelihoods, people were not, they were not very gentle when they were doing it. So why should we be gentle when it comes to the dispensation of justice, especially if this is the reason, if that is the reason why we're told that these young people have been arraigned? What do you make of that thought process? And what should the government, because it's possible that many people who are trying to prosecute these young people have those images in their heads. We even hear conversations of people saying, how do you know their ages? How do you know they're underage? There are people who are claiming that they're actually not. And also citing that when it comes to elections in that part of the country, many people who look a lot like these young people say that they're 18 and allowed to vote and have voter cards. So how do we manage these different thought processes where we are right now?
Okay, Nigeria is a country of law. Nigeria is a country that is operated by virtue of law. Nigeria, everything we do, either as a police or either the executive arm, the legislative arm, the judicial arm, we all derive all these powers and our activities from the law. However, for the fact that someone has committed an offense, no one will say that you should not arrest anybody, or even if one is, there is a reasonable suspicion that someone has committed a crime. Nobody is saying that you should not arrest a suspect. What we are saying is that when a suspect is arrested, you should follow the procedures, the laws of the land that govern your power of arrest, your power of investigation, your power to arraign such people. We are not saying that when protest, of course, protest is a fundamental right enshrined in the Constitution, and it's linked to our freedom of assembly. It's also even that to freely assemble is also linked to freedom of expression. Because when people are protesting, they want to express their minds. They want to give a feedback. And I believe every government should even see that as an opportunity to get a feedback from the public. And since these are guaranteed rights, we cannot say these people should not express, their fundamental rights. But in a situation whereby in the process of expressing your concern to the state or asking state to look into your concerns, and people are already using that avenue to commit crimes, it is expected that the police should act in that regard, but act professionally. Police are not just ordinary people on the streets. They are trained in their policing activities. They are trained to manage situation professionally.
Mr. Inlade, if I may come in here, let's just pull back a little bit. You said something just now about even if a crime is committed, you need to the police needs to work professionally and go by the laws of the land. So let's look at what the Nigerian Constitution defines as a minor or an underage, because we'll say you're a child until you're 12, and then after 12, you are considered a minor. But what exactly is there a portion of the Constitution that specifies who a minor is and how they should be treated regardless? Because even when they do commit murder, because according to the charges, attempted murder is one of the things that they're being charged for. I stand to be corrected here, but let's look at it. What does the Constitution say about who, or at what point are you a child, and at what point are you a minor?
Okay, because Constitution is not meant to be exhaustive to enshrine every aspect of life. So Constitution does not state clearly what a minor is. But there are other laws that derive their existence from the constitutions that makes provision for who is a minor, at what stage can somebody commit crime, who is indollis capalis, somebody at a particular age but who cannot commit a crime. It depends on the legal issues. For example, if we are talking about rape, it's not expected that a 5-year-old boy will have committed a rape. And that if somebody of the age of 13 or 16 has committed age, so the legal issue, the subject at this point in time will determine. Now, for a crime to have been alleged to have been committed, or for element of crime to be established, there is a law that governs and states clearly the crime, the element of the crime, and the punishments that will be visited upon whoever has committed that crime. And each of these laws states all these requirements. So, for example, I think I read, if I'm correct, maybe the police PPR mentioned that at the age of 5, if you commit a crime, whether 5
7
or 7,
actually, you mentioned
okay,
7.
Yes, you can be asked to answer questions. Then I will ask, what crime is he talking about? Is he picking from a particular law to define this? Or is he saying generally that is what all the laws that apply to all criminal-related issues? Or was he quoting administration of criminal justice system? Was he referring to penal code that applies in Abuja and another part of Nigeria? Was he talking about terrorism act? Was he talking about the criminal code that applied in the southern part of Nigeria? So we don't have a universal law that's states a particular age.
So in a case where the charge is a charge of treason,
let me just put it this way, that irrespective of the age of whoever has committed or alleged to have committed a crime, when the person is being investigated and being arraigned in court, the right of the person should be respected vis-a-vis or as provided under the law. If you are detaining person in the police stations or in the police station, for example, you should also allow them to have access to food. It takes somebody who is also healthy to also cooperate with the police and the courts to achieve justice.
So in this case here now, where we're talking about minors, whichever we want to define. Section 29 talks about they're considered minors until, Section 29 of the Constitution, they're considered minors until age 18. After that, they are treated as adults, so to speak, going by our Constitution here. And now they are being charged with treason in a regular court. Is that the process? Going by what you said earlier about the police having to work professionally and going by the laws of the land. So let's put it all together here. They are considered, according to Section 29, minors. The police has arraigned them in a regular court. There is a hue and cry about that is wrong, besides the fact that their rights have been abused. They have no access to food, or they are looking malnourished, as the case may be. So are the police, or is the police doing the right thing? Is this where they should have taken them to? Should they have been taken to a juvenile court and then from there proceed?
Yes, for under the Child Act and the Child
Right
Law.
Act, yeah.
Yes, Right Act at the national level, and of course at state level. There is a particular reason why law is specific when it comes to the rights and the plight of the children. So meaning that they cannot be subjected to all the rigors of trials that people of age are usually subjected to. And even most times when they even want, if there is any reason for any of them to be invited to as witnesses in the regular court, they are always being protected. So for anyone who is categorized as a minor, it is expected that a matter that young people, or should I say minor, will be tried, should be at a juvenile court, not a regular court.
Mm. So in this case, now what should be done? Of course, the Attorney General of the Federation, we understand, has received the files already. What should we be expecting coming from the legal side of things?
Yes, that's commendable, and that of course this is I see as an opportunity to right the wrongs, and of course, if you ask me, for all these young children, for them to be on the streets protesting, asking for a better life, asking for a country where poverty will be eradicated, I think arraigning them for treason is not actually the solution to the issues. If you ask me, the charges against them should be dropped.
But Mr. If let's leave law and look at the humanity or the humane side of things here. Again, children on the streets protesting, asking where they are being charged with treason and inciting a military coup. What does that say of the leadership of that kind of state or country, as the case may be? What does it say of, I'm not saying leadership here, I'm not talking about at the highest. I'm talking about from the family to the local government to the state and maybe to the national. What does that say of that kind of a state?
Well, I would rather say that to make Nigeria a country that we all desire, it calls for everyone's contribution, starting from the home, like you rightly mentioned. We need to start believing or thinking that Nigeria can be better. The moment we start feeling that, oh, it will always be like this will inform attitude, behaviors that will be negating Nigeria expanding, to be where it should rightly belong. The message right from home should be about working hard and let's do the right thing. So also at the local government, the attention is more on the leadership at the central. People hardly even talk and make their state governors accountable. And then, of course, we should also start thinking of how to make our leaders accountable, rather than always seeing them as people we can actually rush to whenever we want to pay school fees of our children or we have one issue or the other. And of course, the religious bodies too also have roles to play in this regard. Rather than making it about prosperity, every day we gather together, we should also talk about values, talk about character. Because this is what we reflect in what we do, irrespective of what we are pursuing, our deliverables, outcomes as an individual or as a group. So these are the roles that is expected, right from the family unit to the community, to the local government, to the states, and to the government in general. The values and believing that this is the only country we have. And of course, Nigeria is already a blessed country by virtue of the resources we have. For the fact that many years ago, we are being projected as a country that will be competing with countries we call, our contemporaries all over the world who are taking the lead now, also showed that we are not doing it the right way. So it calls for having a new orientation about believing in this country.
So, Ilade, I want to be able to get what you mean when you say the charges should be dropped. when we saw those videos of young people destroying people's businesses, being violent on the streets, you couldn't go outside, you know, when we saw those videos, it was a collective disappointment across board. We were all very disappointed at what we saw. And you know, while the conversation has gone to the family unit and leadership, the people who were carrying out those acts, you think, I'm not saying that these boys are guilty because the case is still in court. I'm just saying generally, if a young person is found to have done something like that, shouldn't they face some sort of repercussion for their action?
Yes, I've just said it at the beginning of the program, that no reasonable person will speak in favor of crime, or will speak that crime should be committed, or say that whoever has committed a crime should be treated with pampered or with a pat at the back. All I'm just saying that if someone has committed or is alleged to have committed a crime, during investigation, during arraignment, all the rights that the suspects are entitled to should be allowed to play out. They should be allowed to enjoy all these rights, having access to their lawyers. They should not be treated in such a way, or the whole thing should not be mismanaged in such a way that will bring embarrassment to the country. Now, we are talking about if any of this child can be linked after investigation with evidence to have committed stealing, no, I would not say they cannot be tried in that regard. But of course, in line with the position of the law, through juvenile process.
I mean, I said it earlier, but I'm going to bring it again. We also have to remember, you know, those videos during the End Bad Governance protest, they can't leave my mind. Remember these people who look a lot like the young people that we saw in court. We saw them driving the police APC. You remember that? That video went online as well. We're watching that happen. We were watching in horror as these things continue to unfold. But I want to be able to get your thoughts. The security expert that says this case should actually have been handled by the states and not by the federal government. So what do you make of that? Is that also one of the mistakes that has been made in this matter? Should they have been tried in the states where the alleged crimes happened? Or, you know, was it the right thing to bring them all the way to Abuja and have to go through all the things that we're looking at right now?
Yes, that's why I'm having issue with the terrorism aspects of the charges against these children. If people have vandalized properties, if they have stolen goods, items belonging to another, of course, it's expected that the law in that state should apply. But because of the nexus of terrorism to it, that is why it appears to me that they are being brought to Abuja. And if you look at the protests that are snowballed or led to looting, stealing of items, now being linked to terrorism, that is an issue for me. And that's why I said terrorism-related charges should be dropped. Let's look at the merit of the matter, and then, of course, let's address it that way. And if it's about terrorism, because most of what is the comment I've read is that they put inscription, that they are displaying against the government of Nigeria. These cannot amount to terrorism.
No, let's be specific about what they're accused of. They're accused of calling for military change of government. They called for that. Flying a Russian flag in the country. Those are at least two of the major things that we saw from the police. They said these boys did, and we actually heard them chanting in Kano. We heard them chanting some of those calls for a change in military. They wanted a military change of government. And at the time, we had security experts come on here on Channels TV to tell us about the reason why that would sell in that part of the country is because of what they're seeing in neighboring countries. Remember, we are surrounded by a lot of countries that have had military coups. And for many of those countries, there's also the belief that they got the sponsorship or support from the Russian government. It's all in the stratosphere. Everyone is talking about that there. Whether it is true or not is still to be determined. So those are some of the issues that happened. If I'm going to ask you from a legal standpoint, if a minor, oh yes, and before I forget this train of thought, there's also the question about the people who actually sponsored them. You know, many people have been saying, oh, these are just young people. There are other people who are behind them. Why aren't we catching those ones? And why are we focusing on the young people? You can give us some answer to that in your response. But you see, with all of those things happening, if a young person, from a legal standpoint, a young person below, maybe above 7, but below 12, right? And a young person is seen calling for a change of government, calling for a military coup and flying Russian flags and asking for support for that change of government. As a legal person, what should be done? What is the procedure for handling that sort of situation?
Okay, in a situation where a 7-year-old boy, for example, is calling for a change of government, I will want to assess the boy to understand what he knows about government, what he knows about leadership, what he understands about if he has experience on that military regime that he is actually calling for. Of course, this will make you to understand that for a 7-year-old child to be propagating this kind of concept cannot be his own idea, but someone somewhere. It will be difficult for people who do not have experience or who probably were not born during military regime to be chanting that that kind of regime is what they want against a properly democratic system of government. So it will point to the fact that somebody somewhere is drumming for these people to dance. And that is where the security forces should channel their energy into, to investigate, to see whether these young people were actually being sponsored or being brainwashed to go out and be doing this, rather than focusing their energy much more on how those young people will be subjected to the experience that we've all seen, that I don't really want to talk about, or making sure that they go to jail at all costs. It's a pointer to the fact that something is wrong somewhere, and this should be investigated. I feel this is where the energy should be channeled towards. That is, and if this is not looked into, and we're only targeting the people, or maybe the messenger at this point in time, and the source where they got this inspiration or support, or if anyone is pushing them to do this, is not looked into, then another time the same thing will happen again. And if it's not really looked into, it can even snowball to what they are already talking about at this point in time. So that's why I said that when you see a situation unfolding, rather than looking at the periphery aspect of it, let's go substance, let's go deeper. Let's look at, in fact, we can be friendly with all these guys in such a way that they can even divulge much. But if you are punishing them, some of them will believe what they've been told, that yes, they are still doing the same thing to us. So this is for the security experts to look at and do the needful.
I mean, a lot of comments have been coming in. Some people, what does a child know? You know, and you know, just the thoughtfulness that is involved in handling these sorts of situations. But we'll be watching to see how the Attorney General handles it. It is in his hands right now. Well, of course, we've seen all the letters from people complaining about this situation, asking for the release. Serap is saying they should be released in 48 hours. Ira Consultative Forum says it's shameful and undermines the integrity of the Tinubu administration. And the Kano State Governor says, bring them back to me. Let's handle that. Is that an option there, that it should be sent back to, let the states handle the situation? Is that something the Attorney General should be thinking about?
Well, I want to believe the Attorney General will look into this, and that, of course, considering the opinions given by experts, and that, of course, he will put them into consideration before deciding this. Taking it back to the states, what was the state government even looking at in the first place before the matter get to this level? Why is it that the state government is just interested now that everybody is talking about it? I try to avoid political nexus into whatever is going on. So I feel the Attorney General should be, should quickly respond to this issue and save Nigeria from further embarrassment when it comes to our ratings, when it comes to human rights globally.
All right. Mr. Adiola Oyinlade, I want to thank you so much for coming in this morning. We do hope that eventually we'll get to that point in Nigeria where the law and humanity can work together to get us to that place we need to get to, where we do not abuse and kill our future in the face of politics. Thank you once again for sharing your thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sunrise Daily will be back in a moment. But first, let's step into the Business Morning studios on Sunrise Daily with Ini John Mekwa.